Hello, welcome to my channel. I am going to talk about the Nine of Wands today, and you can see I've got all these cards here because I think we have to look at the Nine of Wands in context with all the other Wands cards. I am really pleased with my Kate Bush song choice, and I'm really pleased with the card. Sometimes when a card is a little bit trickier and has got quite difficult energy, I think it makes me a bit bolder with the art. So I'm quite excited about sewing this one. This is definitely one of my favourite cards that I've done. I think, now this is probably quite a personal perspective on this card, but I think this is a card about burnout. And as someone who's autistic and has experienced burnout, and it's something that in the back of my mind I always have to be aware of because my nervous system is particularly prone to it. I think whenever I get this card, I have to ask, am I doing too much? That is probably the basic question. So let's just quickly go through the wands and see where we get to. How do we get to this Nine of Wands point? Because I think this is almost like a story of burnout to me. So we have this excitement, we have this exciting new project, something's going to happen, we're all enthusiastic. It hasn't happened yet, but you know, there's that sense it's going to. Then we're looking ahead, so we've got a choice now because we've got the twos. We're thinking, maybe weighing up our choices, and because this is wands, I think we're definitely still we're going with our gut instinct. This isn't so much weighing pros and cons, but really going with our heart here and what's our gut telling us we need to do. And you can see in this Rider Waite card that, you know, Pamela Colman-Smith's shown this person here, you know, with this globe. They're thinking, they're weighing, you know, in their mind they're thinking, weighing things up and thinking, what am I going to do? We've got Three of Wands, so they've started their journey, and they're still looking to the future. So it's only begun, but there is probably still like a lot of hope attached to this card. No, it's not quite happened yet, but there's a lot of hope. And then we get the encouragement, we get the little, you know, like, especially when we're doing a long-term project, you know, something goes right and we get that little nudge and that celebration, always just a pause, like all the fours can be a rest, a pause. Fours is about stability. It's a lovely energy, but we can't stay there forever. If we stayed there forever, we'd get stale. And there's further things, there's better things ahead. That's the encouragement of this. So we have the Five, and we probably don't want to be in this space. The Fives are always really uncomfortable, but things have got a little bit disrupted. Other people are getting in the, you know, have got their own agenda. There's competition here. You know, we're no longer in that steady, stable place. But maybe we won. Maybe we were victorious. This is associated with the Knights to the Sixes. I think Crowley calls this, does he call this? Yeah, I think he calls this victory. So we have, I mean, I think it's interesting to compare this card and this one, because this one we're with other people in the Four, we're celebrating. Here we are on our own, and this shows the shadow side of this card. We can get, you know, we're enjoying the validation, but we can get too attached to that status, and we could easily fall off that horse, and there might be resentment from the other people. And you know, this again isn't possibly somewhere that we always want to be, or we can't win everything, can we? So our ego wants to stay there, but you know, something's going to happen. And we've got the Seven, so we've got this disruption again. We have got a sense of having to defend our boundaries now. You know, maybe we've achieved something that now needs to be defended against others. A little bit of paranoia maybe, although I do love this card. I got a Mars in Leo. So it is a card I really like, but there is a sense of having to defend maybe what you love. You know, that it can be a lot of honor in this card, but definitely not a restful place. I've talked about this before. Maybe I'll link to these videos, because 8 of Wands is a sense of rush, a sense of speed. We've got communications. We've got some things happening where we need to act quickly. And this can all like feel lovely. You know, adrenaline's going. But it's not really sustainable. And there's a sense of maybe we're acting without thinking here. We're maybe rushing into things. And this is the danger, isn't it? That, I mean, sometimes, or I know certainly for me, that I can experience burnout because I'm doing what I don't want to do, that I just feel too much pressure from other people. I feel a sense of overwhelm and everything is just too difficult. But sometimes I can also notice that I need to step back, that I can shut down a little bit, because I've actually been doing stuff that I really enjoy, but I've been ignoring my body's signals to take it easy. 9s are associated with the Hermit, and I think all the 9s are asking us to reflect inwards and to think, do we really want to be in this space? Do we want to be here? Is it our choice, or are we getting influenced by other people too much? It always makes me laugh a little bit, the man with the bandage around his head, because it reminds me, I can't remember which World Cup it was the 1990s. I think it was a World Cup and a Euro, but there was a point with Paul Gascoigne was playing, who was an very talented English footballer. And he got injured and he had this big bandage around his head. And it was obvious he was still injured, and they put the bandage around his head and he still went on. He went back onto the pitch. And I think there are probably moments for a lot of us like that where we are obviously too tired to carry on. And everyone around us can see we've become a little bit of a stress head, and that, you know, we're probably we think we're working really hard and contributing, but actually we're probably very stressful to be around and not contributing. We're not as indispensable as we think often. And that is the question. Is there someone else that can just take over? And maybe, you know, other people aren't going to be as bothered as we think. Maybe, you know, we fear letting people down sometimes. But, I mean, I know I've certainly been involved in things where the person organising it or something is just so stressed and being such a perfectionist, you almost wish they would just drop out and get other people to do stuff. So I feel this is the energy a little bit of the 9 of Wands. It is a little bit, I don't think I'm contradicting the Thoth card. I'll just quickly show the Thoth card. I've got it here. Now, I've said before that I quite like the keywords in the Thoth, but sometimes I find them too one-dimensional. And I think if you looked at this and you saw strength, you would think, if you're just doing it superficially, you think, well, this is a really good card. And you might not be so aware of the shadow of it. And I would say with the Thoth, because they are generally pip cards, the numbers, that we do need to think about the astrological associations. And this is Moon in Sagittarius. Now, the things about Sagittarius they are, you know, they're generally quite out. I mean, you know, this is broadly, okay, this is not every Sagittarius, but they generally tend to think of them as quite outgoing, warm, extroverted people in a sense. And they like to keep busy. They're travelers. They are adventurous. And I would say, like, you know, my moon is in Gemini. So that means that when I have difficult emotions, that I tend to overanalyze them. I am the sort of person that tends to ruminate for too long, or I detach from them. I would say the problem with a Sagittarius is that when they have difficult emotions, they might push through. They are the sort of person that will stay busy to avoid thinking. And this is the sort of thing that also makes us vulnerable to burnout, isn't it? If we're just being so busy to avoid thinking and we don't really realise how worn out we are. So that's my perspective. I won't talk much about this Ten of Wands, only to say that I view this as more positively than lots of people. I think Crowley calls this one oppression. I think it's the end of oppression. That's how I see it. Anyway, so I see this one more positively. But yeah, that is my take on this. Now, the Kate Bush card. So this is from, so this is from Lionheart. Now I'm going to say something about the Lionheart album in a minute, because I think, and how this relates to this card. The song I have chosen is Full House. And this is from the chorus, remember yourself, you've got a full house in your head tonight, which I think is about the idea of other people's expectations sometimes and how we absorb them as our own internal voices, and then we get pushed around. So, it's that critical voice in your head that you think is coming from you, but actually it's coming from an external source, like a parent or family member, or or a friend, or society's values, or whatever. So this is about, which is a great, again, for a 9, isn't it, associated with the Hermit. Remember who you are. Go back to basics. Rest. Ground yourself. I think that is the message. And Kate Bush has said that Full House, it was quite an autobiographical song at the time. It was made for the album. And I was thinking about the album itself and what position Kate Bush was in when she was making that album, and how rushed she felt, which was something that she really talked openly, like in the mid-80s. She started talking about this, and she said that she came back from Japan and she had a week, and then she had to get this album ready, and it was really rushed. And I sense, and you can't really know, can you, from the outside, but it was almost like she was at the point of burnout, or even was at burnout at that point. She'd been doing so much promotion, and it was maybe that experience that made her take a step back, think she's going to take longer for making the albums in future, possibly put her off touring, I think. And she was going to take more control, take more creative control, and be able to do things so she could enjoy the process of making the album, rather than feeling in this rush, in this, like other people telling her, other people setting her schedule. And when she now talks about the Lionheart, I think there's a sense of a little bit, I think her view was, she did well with that album. And, I like the album. It's a good album, but it probably wasn't, she didn't really feel in control of the creative process, I think. And I think she's called it overproduced. It was overproduced. It wasn't what she would have wanted if she'd had more time. This photo is, I think Kate Bush is probably a little bit younger than she was in 1978, and it's taken again by her brother, John Carter Bush. But I love the, I thought it was great for the Full House, that sense of, I suppose it's going to the head again, isn't it? It's something about, which again takes us back to that Rider Waite with the bandage, something about the head feeling like it's pounding, like there's too much going on and we just need to ground ourselves again. So that is my take on the Nine of Wands. And thanks as always for watching. Goodbye.